you for your testimony today. Mr. Sue, I have some questions for you about overdraft fees, because this has become very big business for banks. In fact, the numbers I've seen show that in 2020 alone, banks generated $31 billion from overdraft fees, tens of millions of American families, and a lot of these folks are living paycheck to paycheck. One issue that I've been focused on for a long time is getting to real-time payments. I support the FedNow system because some people deposit their checks, but they take time to clear, and in the meantime, they get hit with overdraft fees. I think there was a time when people used their debit cards, and if there were not enough funds in their account, it would just say insufficient funds. But now, as you know, the funds can be made available, and the consumer may have no idea that they've overdrawn on their account. So I have a question for you. I've been looking at some of the banks, and under OCC's jurisdiction, seen that there are 3 financial institutions that make 100% of their profit on overdraft fees. And my question is very simple. Is a bank that makes 100% of its profits on overdraft fees a bank that is a safe and sound financial institution?
So concentrations in which revenues are derived in any form, whether overdrafts or others, is a supervisory concern. So in those situations, we take a very close look at that. That factors into our safety and soundness assessments. I can't share those. That's confidential supervisory information.
Right.
But that's certainly something we take a very close look at.
But let me ask you this. I mean, this is a pretty extraordinary situation, right? We're talking about 100%. And I want to credit Eric Klein at Brookings Institution who's done work in this. There are others that shockingly make about 50% of their profits on overdraft, which is a huge number. But my question is, if a financial institution is relying entirely on overdraft fees to stay a going concern, are they a safe and sound institution by definition?
It certainly raises a lot of flags, and we follow up on those flags to ensure that firms are safe and sound.
Well, there are 3 institutions we've seen. One is doing business as First Texas, the other is Academy Bank, and then there's Wood Forest. Wood Forest National Bank has 12 branches in the state of Maryland, including locations in Landover, Laurel, and Hanover. They're all, to my knowledge, located in Walmarts. And these are people who are paying a huge amount of money, not knowing that they've exceeded their balance. And it seems to me that if a financial institution is relying on overdraft fees for 100% of its profits, that is a huge area of concern. In fact, it seems like by definition that it's not safe and sound. What is in your toolbox now to prevent this kind of problem?
So I should state off front, I share your concern. I think excessive fees on overdrafts, predatory lending, high-cost debt traps, these are all these things should be prohibited. They don't have a place in the federal banking system. We are looking very closely at overdrafts right now. We've got a review going on. These particular institutions have been identified, as well as other practices. We're going to use the full range of our toolkit within our supervisory toolkit to address it. Some of these have been identified for some time, and we've been working on it. So there's a time element to different cases. I can't speak to specific cases. Be happy to follow up with your staff to kind of walk through all the different things that we're going through and as we conclude this review.
Okay, I appreciate that. As I said, we're talking about $31 billion a year, mostly impacting families who are going paycheck to paycheck. And it just seems to me that beyond these institutions,
yes,
you and your fellow regulators should be really digging down on this because, as you know, there's some justification possibly for some small fee, but for the most part, this is profit for every bank that is engaging in large charges for overdraft fees. And as you know, in many cases, I can go to my 7-Eleven, not knowing I've overdrawn, buy a cup of coffee, $35 overdraft fee, and then I can go down the road in the same visit, still not knowing I've tripped my credit, and pay another overdraft fee. And I could do that 10 times a day without even knowing it. Can you look at ways that people can be protected from this?
Yes, there's actually an interagency effort to address exactly, they call it like the $35 coffee. There's an effort, there's kind of draft work to address precisely that particular issue. More generally, though, I think one positive thing that has happened over the past year and really picked up over the past several months is some of the larger banks have really started reforming their overdraft programs and policies to make them less punitive, more flexible. There are some leaders in that space. We encourage that, and we're encouraging all of the large banks to do exactly that, is to kind of rethink that so that it's both fair and it provides the flexibility that people need.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Senator Hollen. And Senator Menendez from New Jersey is recognized.
Thank you,